Hello, this is the 36th deep dive for What Would Peter Lynch Do, where we explore the timeless wisdom of legendary investor Peter Lynch. We had a really important question from a listener. They asked, I heard that there are a lot of stock fraud victims these days. How can we avoid scammers who instigate through reading rooms or front running trades in YouTube? And that's just a critical question right now. It really hits on a major concern in today's investment world, doesn't it? So this deep dive, it isn't just about spotting the outright scam, so that's obviously vital. It's also about understanding, the broader influence game that gets played by different market players and how Peter Lynch's insights can, well, guide us through all this noise and confusion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That listener's caution. That's really the best defense you can have as an investor. It's a serious issue. Things like pump and dump groups, front running using influencers. These aren't just small problems. They're serious crimes. We see them causing huge losses, even bankruptcy for investors. And yeah, right here in the U.S. stock market too. What's really striking is how sophisticated these scams have become. They're not just simple tricks anymore. They really tap into human psychology,
Yeah.
to manipulate people. So today we'll break down exactly how they do it using some real U.S. examples and crucially give you some practical ways to stay vigilant.
Okay, let's get into it then. To really grasp these modern scams, maybe we should look at a real case, sort of a Wolf of Wall Street for the social media age. I'm thinking about that December 2022 case where the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, charged 8 social media influencers. It's a huge stock manipulation scheme, right? Something like $114 million. That seems like a perfect example of their playbook.
It really is. A textbook case. Their whole operation basically had two main stages, very carefully planned out. Stage one was all about building trust, creating this like fandom on public platforms, YouTube, Twitter, places like that. These scammers, they presented themselves as these super successful traders, self-made experts. And how? By showing off this incredibly lavish lifestyle. Think Lamborghinis, fancy watches, amazing vacations. They'd plaster it all over Twitter, like that at Mr. Zach Morris account. It plants this fantasy, right? If you follow me, you can have this too.
They weren't selling investment ideas, they were selling a dream. And the language they used. Very provocative, really simple phrases. This stock is insane. To the moon. Stuff like that. Not complicated jargon. It gets novice investors excited, maybe bypasses critical thinking a bit. And to build that initial trust, they'd give out some general thoughts on big safe stocks like Apple or Tesla. Or make predictions that were, frankly, easy to get right in a rising market. Sometimes they'd even help a few followers make small profits, just enough to hook them.
The key goal here was creating this psychological fandom. People stop questioning, they just become followers.
Right, so they build this loyal following, this almost cult-like devotion. What happens next? How do they actually turn that into cash for themselves and, well, losses for the followers?
Exactly. That's stage two. Once that trust is cemented, they invite these fans into private channels, Discord servers, maybe Telegram groups. Things like Atlas Trading was one mentioned in that case. They promise real, valuable information, stuff you can't get publicly. This is basically the American version of those pump and dump schemes you hear about. And the very first step inside this stage is the front running, or sometimes called scalping. The scammers secretly buy up large amounts of stock in really small, obscure companies. Penny stocks often. These have low trading volume, so it doesn't take much money to push the price around. They get in cheap before anyone else. Then inside those private rooms, they start hyping these specific stocks. They'll lie, say things like, oh, there's huge news coming, or I got some inside info. They build this fake community vibe. We're all going to get rich together. Sometimes they even use shills.
Shills, like fake accounts?
Yeah, exactly. People paid to post fake screenshots of huge profits just to ramp up the excitement. And at the same time, they mention the stock on their public channels, YouTube, Twitter, shouting target prices, buy now.
Yeah.
So everyone piles in, right? From the private groups, from the public hype, the stock price skyrockets. That's the pump. And while everyone else is buying, the scammers, they're quietly selling, dumping all the shares they bought earlier at the peak price. The result, scammers make massive profits. The investors who jumped in late, they lose everything as the price crashes back down, and the scammers just shrug, say investing is risky or market conditions change. It's vicious. The followers were just tools, cannon fodder, really.
Wow.
But,
That's a grim picture. So for our listeners, the big question is, how do we avoid becoming that cannon fodder? What's the first line of defense? How do we build our own sort of investor protection alarm system?
That's exactly the right mindset. Develop your own alarm system. Because no matter how fancy the scam looks, the core deception is usually the same. Here are 5 alarms that should go off in your head. Keep these in mind. Alarm number 1. Anyone promising 100% profits or saying your principal guaranteed, let's be real, guaranteed high returns just don't exist in investing. Warren Buffett, maybe the greatest ever, averages around 20% a year. If someone guarantees crazy returns, it is absolutely 100% a scam. The words guarantee and certainty should immediately make you suspicious. Peter Lynch always talked about the business fundamentals, right? Not impossible promises. Alarm 2, pressure tactics. You have to buy right now or this is the only chance. Scammers thrive on urgency. They don't want you to have time to think, to do research. They want to trigger that FOMO, fear of missing out. Remember Benjamin Graham's Mr. Market? This is him in his manic phase, screaming at you to buy. Right. Ignore the scream. It's exactly. Good investment opportunities don't require snap decisions. If a channel makes you feel that intense pressure, just turn it off. Alarm 3. Being lured into a private leading room or exclusive group, ask yourself, if this information is so good, why share it secretly with just a few people? Why not shout it from the rooftops? These private groups act like a psychological greenhouse. They block out any criticism, foster blind faith, make you feel special. But usually when someone says, this is especially for you, what they often mean is, I'm going to scam you, especially. Yeah, alarm 4. Claims of unverifiable inside information. In the U.S., actually trading on real inside information that's insider trading is a serious crime. The FBI investigates it. So if some YouTuber is casually mentioning inside info, they're either lying through their teeth or they're admitting to a felony. Which is it?
Probably lying.
Probably lying. Any information that doesn't have a clear, verifiable source like an official SEC filing, a company press release treated as fiction. Diligent research finds insights, not secret whispers. And alarm 5. The recommended stock is some unfamiliar small-cap stock you've never heard of. Why don't scammers usually recommend Apple or Google? Because those stocks are too big, too liquid. Unknown small-cap stocks, petty stocks, have low market values, low trading volumes. That makes them easy to manipulate, to pump, with less money. If someone is pushing an obscure company really hard, chances are very, very high they bought it beforehand. They're not looking out for you.
Those 5 alarms are super practical. Let's just pause on alarm 1 for a sec, the 100% profits thing. How does that often get disguised? Like, what's the sneaky way they promise that without actually saying 100% guaranteed? Because ultimately, you're the only one who can truly protect your money, right? It's not about being impressed by someone's lifestyle or smooth talk. You have to look at their intentions, almost like a detective. Why are they telling me this? What's in it for them? Remember, the easy path often leads straight into a trap. Real sustainable profits come from doing the work, the steady study. Keep that front and center. Okay, so we've covered the outright fraud, but you mentioned this influence game, the stuff that's maybe not illegal, but still feels like the playing field is tilted, where big institutions seem to, well, use individual investors.
Yeah, that's a really important distinction and a crucial aspect of today's market. It's not fraud in the legal sense, but it is this tilted playing field. It operates within the rules, but the effects can feel similar sometimes. Let's call it the influence game. Institutional investors, the big funds, the banks, they definitely have advantages. Think of them as having like 3 main legal weapons. First, just overwhelming information and analytical power. It's a resource gap. You might be checking stock news on your phone. A Wall Street fund manager, they're looking at real-time data streams on a Bloomberg terminal that costs thousands a month. They have teams of analysts writing 100-page reports, digging deep for months. You just can't compete on that level of resource. So the takeaway for you, don't try to play their game. Play your game patience, independent thought, like Peter Lynch taught. Second, they have direct access to company management. Big investors can often meet directly with CEOs, CFOs, ask questions, discuss strategy. Now there's a rule, Regulation FD Fair Disclosure, that says companies can't share material non-public info selectively. If they do, they have to tell everyone right away.
Okay, so there are rules.
There are rules, but here's the nuance. The institutions can still read the atmosphere. They see the body language, hear the tone of voice, gauge the confidence level. It's qualitative data, soft information that you as an individual just can't get. And third, just sheer scale, market-moving power. When a massive fund starts buying a stock, that buying pressure alone can move the price. Their actions become signals for others. It's like you said before, the individual investor is a small boat. The institution is the aircraft carrier making the waves.
That wave analogy really sticks. So given these advantages, why do big investors like Peter Lynch back in the day with his letters or fund managers on YouTube now, why do they go public with their ideas? Is it to make us allies, or are they trying to use that influence, maybe turn us into that cannon fodder?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the answer is, it can be both. It's a sophisticated strategy to maximize their own influence and investment success. Let's look at 2 different approaches. Case 1. Think of an activist investor looking for allies. Bill Ackman at Pershing Square is a classic example. He buys a big chunk of a company, then publicly argues for changes. He releases incredibly detailed presentations, letters. He basically says, look, this company has problems X, Y, and Z. If we fix them like this, the stock could double. Now, if you read his analysis, agree with the logic, and decide to buy the stock too, that helps push the price up. It puts more pressure on management to adopt his plan. In that case, your interests and his are aligned. You're riding on his research, his logic. You're an ally supporting his campaign, not just fodder. Case 2. It's more of a gray area where you can end up feeling like cannon fodder. Think about someone like Cathie Wood, an ARK investor. She invests in disruptive tech, right? And she's very active promoting her vision, YouTube, interviews, everything. She paints this powerful picture. The future belongs to these technologies. And lots of individual investors get excited, buy into the vision, maybe buy the ARK funds or the stocks they hold. This enthusiasm creates a sort of self-reinforcing loop. The buying pushes prices higher, which seems to validate the vision, which attracts more buyers.
Until it doesn't.
Exactly. If the vision proves wrong, or the market turns, those tech stocks can plummet. And the investors who got in latest, they take the biggest hit. It's not illegal. She's sharing her thesis. But for those latecomers, it can absolutely feel like they were just fuel for the fund's earlier returns. Feels like being used.
That distinction is really clear now. Ally versus, well, fuel. So how do we stay on the ally side or just navigate this whole game without getting burned? What's our strategy as individuals?
It comes down to mindset. 3 key things to remember. First, look at their logic, not just them. Even if it's Warren Buffett or Peter Lynch speaking, don't just blindly follow, oh, Buffett bought it, so it must be good. No. Ask why. He bought it for these specific reasons. Do I understand those reasons? Do I agree with them? Do they fit my investment plan? The second you invest just based on someone's name or reputation, you've stopped thinking for yourself. You're just a follower. Second, always check the primary source. If a YouTuber, a fund manager, anyone talks about a company's performance or prospects, don't just nod along. Go find the company's actual earnings report, the 10K or 10Q. Find their official press releases. Read at least a little bit yourself. It's your money. You have to do that basic check. And third, remember your strengths as an individual investor. Big institutions have constraints. They often have to focus on short-term results. It's hard for them to invest meaningfully in small, promising companies without moving the price too much. But you have freedom. Freedom of time you can hold for years, decades. Ignore the quarterly noise. And freedom of flexibility, you can buy or sell smaller amounts easily. You can invest in those potentially explosive small companies the giants overlook. Maybe focus on cultivating your own small garden based on your research instead of trying to chase the giants around their battlefield.
That's really empowering advice. Cultivate your own garden. I like that. Now, connecting back to the listener's question and channels, you mentioned GameStop. That was huge on Reddit. And now it seems like X, Twitter, is often ground zero for a lot of this hype and potential manipulation. Can we talk specifics? What channels or platforms should we be particularly wary of in the U.S. right now?
Yeah, good question. And you're right to link GameStop to the current landscape. It was a pivotal moment. First, just a quick clarification on GameStop itself. The main hub was that Reddit forum, Wall Street Bets. It's kind of a wild place, memes, bold bets, lots of very colorful language. The core event wasn't really a scam initially. It was more like retail investors found out hedge funds were heavily shorting GameStop, betting on its failure. So they organized, collectively bought the stock, partly to make money, partly to punish the short sellers. This huge buying pressure caused a short squeeze. The hedge funds had to buy shares back at much higher prices to cover their losses, driving the price even higher. It was kind of a rebellion against perceived information asymmetry.
Okay, so it started as something different.
Right. But scammers definitely watched, learned, and adapted those tactics of using online communities for manipulation. So which channels should you watch out for now? Scammers use a combination, a system. First, you have the public squares, Reddit and X, formerly Twitter. This is where the initial hype and shilling often happens. Think subreddits like Wall Street Bets, Orbity Stocks, and similar ones that popped up. Scammers spread memes, unconfirmed rumors about small stocks. On FinFit Finance Twitter, you see influencers, sometimes like those the SEC charged, systematically pumping stocks they already own. Warning signs, lots of devotional slogans. We like the stock. Diamond hands do the moon. A focus on fighting the shorts or sticking together rather than actual company analysis. Rejecting logic for hype. Second, the closed rooms. Discord and Telegram. This is the American version of the pump and dump group. It's where they trap you. The FBI even warns about these scams disguised as investment clubs. They lure you in from X or YouTube with promises of secret or alpha information. Inside, the leader acts like a guru, a god almost. Shills post fake wins. Dissent is crushed.
Creates an echo chamber.
Totally. Rational thought gets drowned out. Warning signs. Charging monthly fees, demanding you use a specific broker so they get commissions, the leader taking credit for wins, see I told you, but explaining away losses, just accumulate more. And third, the visual packaging. YouTube and TikTok. These are perfect for building that initial trust and simplifying things too much. They use flashy visuals, the supercars, the watches, the jets to create that successful trader image. Makes you want to believe them. They often boil down complex markets to simple formulas. If you see this chart pattern, buy. Or here are 3 secret signs that big money is buying. Warning signs. Anyone using words like guaranteed gains or risk-free, big red flag. Channels relying only on charts, technical analysis, or rumors, with no deep dive into the company's actual business or financials. And definitely channels constantly pushing links to their private Telegram or Discord. So look, memorizing channel names is kind of useless. They pop up and disappear. The key is learning the pattern. Create hype publicly. X, Reddit. Lure to a closed room. Discord, Telegram, package it visually. YouTube, TikTok. Be deeply skeptical of any channel promising easy, fast jackpots. Real experts talk about risk. They encourage you to learn and think for yourself.
That pattern is incredibly helpful. Seeing the whole system. And it really brings us back to the timeless wisdom, doesn't it? Peter Lynch, Buffett, Graham. They didn't have Discord, but they understood the underlying human psychology. Their advice feels more relevant than ever.
It truly is. Their insights cut right through the noise. Think about Buffett's famous line, "Be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful." That's all about acting contrary to the mob, contrary to the hype. And remember Benjamin Graham's Mr. Market, that manic depressive partner offering you prices every day.
Yeah, sometimes wildly optimistic, sometimes ridiculously pessimistic.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, the noise from YouTubers, from pump and dump groups, that's just Mr. Market with a megaphone, with a screaming, "To the moon!" Well, that's Mr. Market in his greedy, manic phase. That's his fearful, depressed phase. The wise investor hears that noise, takes a breath, and looks for the opportunity to act rationally, often in the opposite direction. And Graham himself, he always said the investor's biggest enemy is likely themselves. It's about temperament. He also said nothing is certain on Wall Street, except for the fact that nothing is certain on Wall Street, which is why he hated tipsters. Today's version might be those hype-driven YouTubers. Graham drew a sharp line. Following tips and rumors isn't investing, it's speculating. Investing requires your own analysis, your own judgment, and the emotional discipline to ignore the noise. That's where his margin of safety comes in. Buying a stock significantly below its real value. That's your buffer. It protects you financially if things go wrong, but it also protects you psychologically. When the market gets crazy, knowing you bought cheap gives you incredible peace of mind.
It all comes back to that, doesn't it? Shut out the external noise, stick to your own principles, and focus on the intrinsic value of the business. The technology changes, the platforms change, but human greed and fear, they stay the same. Makes their wisdom incredibly powerful today. Today's Lynch quote reinforces this perfectly. And, this principle connects not just to investing, but really to wisdom for life in general. See you next time. This was What Would Peter Lynch Do? Thank you for joining us today. Have a nice day.